All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts. The trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminization Invasion. Women take over institutions with the woke mind virus and destroy law, order, logic, justice, and borders. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. The Unshackled Man, How Composure, Capitalism, and Courageous Truth-Telling Crush Feminist Lies and Rebuild the West one red-pilled mind at a time. You know that moment, standing in the grocery store. Your ex walks in with her new boyfriend, some TikTok gym bro with a 200 haircut and a spine made of wet cardboard, and she gives you that look? The one that says you were supposed to crumble. You were supposed to beg, but you don't. You nod, grab your beef jerky and canned beans, and walk out without a twitch in your jaw. That's not luck. That's composure, the first weapon in the arsenal of the man who refuses to be a puppet in the feminist circus. I've seen men break over less. One guy cried in a Starbucks because his girlfriend ghosted him after he paid for her wisdom teeth. Wisdom teeth. Meanwhile, in 1849, a prospector in California chewed his own boot leather to survive 3 weeks lost in the Sierra Nevada. No anesthetic, no therapist, no victim narrative, just will. What happened to us? When did we trade stoicism for sentimentality? Courage for cortisol-spiking tweets about emotional safety? The truth is simple. The left didn't just attack Western civilization, they launched a biological coup. They pathologized testosterone as toxic, exalted female hysteria as authentic, and turned the male instinct to build, lead, and protect into a crime against their fragile utopia. Let me hit you with facts so hard they'll crack your blue pill open. 94% of workplace fatalities are men. 80% of those who died in slave ships crossing the Atlantic were men worked to death, bred like livestock, buried at sea without a name. But no one mourns them, no statues, no marches. Meanwhile, a woman burns a bra on TV and becomes a legend. Feminism isn't about equality, it's about erasure. And capitalism, they call it oppressive, but it's the only system that rewards actual value. A blacksmith makes a gate. It either works or it doesn't. No pronouns, no diversity training, no HR witch hunt. But take that same man and stick him in a DEI-compliant office where he's punished for saying hello to a female colleague, and suddenly he's alienated. Not because of capitalism, but because genocentrism has turned work into theater and men into debt-ridden clowns funding female hedonism while being stripped of fatherhood, dignity, and truth. I'll tell you this. The man who knows where he's going in 5 years, the one building land, legacy, and loyalty, doesn't waste time on outrage. He's too busy becoming immune to the noise. Because when the storm hits, and it will, only the composed survive, and only the purposeful inherit the earth. The alchemy of composure, forging the unshakable man in an age of feminized hysteria. I was falsely accused of cheating by my sister-in-law at a family dinner. She screamed it across the table like a banshee with a subpoena. I didn't flinch. I kept serving the roast beef. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't justify. I didn't defend. I smiled, placed the food on her plate, and said, Here's your portion, just like the receipts I'll show you later. 2 days later, I handed her my bank statements, text logs, GPS data, and a timeline that would make a forensic accountant blush. She had no response. Just silence, not because I destroyed her, but because the truth destroyed her lie. That's not revenge, that's justice. And justice doesn't scream. It arrives. Compare that to the modern beta male sobbing on Twitter because his ex unfollowed him, calling it emotional abandonment trauma. He's crying about a cancelled Netflix subscription like it's the fall of Rome. This man isn't sensitive, he's infantile. He's been brainwashed by the feminist cult of emotional indulgence, where every minor discomfort is a trigger, every disagreement is abuse, and every woman's whim is divine revelation. He's been taught that vulnerability means whimpering, not standing firm. That's not strength. That's surrender dressed up as therapy, and the world is rotting because of it. Let's talk about Marcus Aurelius. While Rome burned with plague, war, betrayal, and the collapse of moral order, he wrote Meditations, not in a bunker, not in hiding, but in the field, in the mud, with an army at his back and death all around. He didn't rage. He didn't collapse. He didn't demand safe spaces or trauma counselors. He said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That wasn't suppression. That was mastery. He didn't deny reality, he transcended it, and that, gentlemen, is the difference between a man and a mouse. Now watch the media. They'll tell you angry men are the greatest threat to society. But when a woman shrieks, throws a chair, or files a false police report because her Starbucks order was wrong, she's passionate, strong, a warrior. The double standard isn't an accident, it's a weapon. It's designed to pathologize male composure as repression and elevate female hysteria as empowerment. They want you to believe that calm is cowardice, that silence is shame, that control is repression. But the truth, calm is power, silence is strategy, control is sovereignty, and the man who does not react to every provocation isn't broken, he's evolved. Let's get biological. Testosterone fuels focus, resilience, and long-term planning. Cortisol, the stress hormone, when chronically elevated, degrades the prefrontal cortex, impairs judgment, and shrinks the hippocampi. Research shows men in genocentric workplaces, where emotional blackmail, false accusations, and performative empathy are currency, experience up to 40% higher cortisol levels than men in merit-based environments. That's not personal testimony. That's data from the Journal of Occupational Health Psychology. Yet men like David Goggins don't break. They reframe. They treat stress like a forge. He ran 100 miles with broken bones. Why? Because he knows pain isn't the enemy, weakness is, and weakness is what the woke cult worships. They want you weak, emotional, dependent, so they can control you. Look at Elon Musk during the 2018 short seller siege. Wall Street sharks were betting Tesla would collapse. They mocked him, called him a fraud, circulated fake documents. And what did he do? He laughed. He smoked weed on Joe Rogan's podcast, not because he's reckless, but because he doesn't care. He's building rockets while they're scribbling spreadsheets. His calm wasn't luck, it was cultivated. He practices stoicism. He reads Seneca. He knows that emotion is a tool, not a master. And while the media painted him as unstable, he was more stable than all his critics combined. Why? Because real composure isn't about not feeling. It's about choosing when to act. Schopenhauer said, talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. True composure isn't about enduring chaos. It's about seeing through it. It's the ability to stand in the hurricane and know calmly that the storm will pass and you will remain. That's not denial. That's foresight. That's the red pill. You see the game. You see the lies. You see the manipulation. And instead of raging at the screen, you step back, reload, and re-enter on your terms. Composure isn't passivity. It's the pause before the action you choose. It's the silence before the thunder. It's the stillness before the strike. The litmus test isn't whether you feel anger. It's whether you let it rule you. A dog barks at every shadow. A lion waits, and when he moves, the jungle knows. And here's the tool, the red pill pause. When you're insulted, attacked, undermined, delay your reaction by 7 seconds. Why 7? Because that's the time it takes for the prefrontal cortex to override the amygdala. That's not woo, that's neuroscience. Navy SEALs use it. Special forces train it. It's the difference between a knee-jerk reaction and a strategic response. You don't have to be a warrior, but if you want to survive this feminized hellscape, you must think like one. I once sat across from a sociology professor at a dinner party, tenured, smug, sipping kale-infused alkaline water, and she told me capitalism was inherently exploitative. I didn't argue. I just asked her, who built your iPhone? Who mined the lithium? Who coded the OS? Was it unpaid interns? Woke ghosts? She blinked. I continued, men mostly invisible, unthanked, uncompensated in the feminist narrative, built that device. Men risked their lives, their sanity, their futures. And yet you, sitting here in your climate-controlled bubble, benefit from their labor while calling their system evil. That's not analysis. That's theft with a thesaurus. And in that moment, I realized the entire feminist-adjacent left doesn't hate capitalism because it fails. They hate it because it works. And in working, it exposes their fraudulence. It rewards doing over feeling, creation over complaint, strength over sensitivity. No wonder they want to burn it down. Capitalism's soul, Fromm's misdiagnosis, and the moral fire of free creation. The market is a merciless teacher. It does not care if you feel validated. It does not care if your pronouns are respected. It cares whether your product works, your service delivers, your steel holds. That truth hit me like a hammer when I watched my cousin, a former IT drone, trade his cubicle for a forge. He now makes custom knife blades from reclaimed railroad steel. His hands are calloused, his income fluctuates, but his eyes, those have fire. He told me, I used to manage data, now I make something. My wife said I was having a midlife crisis. I told her I was having a life for the first time. And that's the rub. Capitalism, in its purest form, is moral alchemy. It transmutes sweat, skill, and sacrifice into value. No participation trophies, no safe spaces, just results. This is why the feminist mind recoils from it. It cannot lie its way into a fair market. You can't diversity lecture a failing business into profitability. You can't lived experience your way out of a broken machine. Capitalism is justice with boots on, and justice terrifies those who thrive on privilege disguised as victimhood. Let's name the rot, gynocentrism, not capitalism. Not toxic masculinity. The real crisis isn't that men are too driven, too productive. It's that they're enslaved by a system that demands they fund female hedonism while being denied fatherhood, dignity, and legacy. Consider this. In family courts across the West, men lose custody of their children at rates exceeding 80%, often without trial, often based on unproven allegations. Yet feminists scream about patriarchy while wielding state power like a cudgel against fathers. The same women who demand bodily autonomy in abortion will turn around and demand that men pay child support for children they never wanted and can't see. That's not justice, that's legalized cuckoldry. And capitalism didn't invent it. Gynocentrism did. And while men are stripped of their children, their earnings, their rights, the state props up female entitlement through welfare, alimony, and false victim narratives, all funded by the very men being erased. The market doesn't create this injustice. The matriarchal state does. Compare the blacksmith and the HR manager. One wakes at dawn, breathes fire, shapes metal with his hands, solves real problems, and sleeps like a man who has earned rest. The other spends his day policing language, enforcing DEI dogma, and sending emails about inclusive synergies. Which man is building civilization? Which man is a parasite on it? The HR manager, the modern eunuch of corporate Babylon, has no product, no craft, no legacy. He enforces emotional safety while real men die in mines, on rigs, in construction zones. And let's not mince words, 94% of industrial accident deaths are male. 75% of workplace homicides. When was the last time a feminist march honored coal miners or loggers? Never. They only care when men are villains or victims in service of their narrative. But when a man risks his life to provide, he's invisible. Unless he fails, then he's toxic. This isn't capitalism failing men. This is the feminist state sacrificing men on the altar of female comfort. Erich Fromm, in his so-called Marxist humanism, claimed capitalism alienates man from his labor. What a crock. The real alienation isn't from work, it's from purpose. Fromm, like so many leftist intellectuals, was blind to the deeper pathology, genocentric dependency. He pathologized male ambition, calling it exploitation, while ignoring the fact that women, throughout history, have exploited male productivity through emotional manipulation, legal privilege, and reproductive control. His solution? More state control, more infantilization, more bureaucracy, more HR managers, as if the state, a bloated, corrupt, female-dominated institution, is the answer to alienation. It's like asking a vampire to cure your anemia. Fromm's Freudian bias only made it worse. He saw male desire, the drive to build, conquer, create, as neurosis. But that desire is sacred. It's Prometheus stealing fire. It's Michelangelo chiseling David. It's Tesla lighting the world. To call that alienation is to spit on the human spirit. Let's laugh at the historical irony. Slaves built the pyramids without pay. Men built the railroads across America, dying by the thousands buried in unmarked graves. Men coded the internet, flew to the moon, engineered skyscrapers, all under capitalism. And yet, today, tenured women in wool sweaters at elite universities claim capitalism is the greatest oppressor in history. Oppressor? Compared to what? To matriarchal tribes where men were eaten after mating. To ancient Sparta, where boys were torn from mothers at age 7 to become warriors. No, capitalism, for all its flaws, is the only system that allows a man to rise by merit, not by groveling to women or the state. It's why leftists hate it. It doesn't care about your trauma. It doesn't care if you identify as a wounded goddess. It cares if your product sells. And that honesty terrifies the weak, the dishonest, and the entitled. I know a man, a real one, who left a safe corporate job with health insurance and a 401k to start a machine shop in his garage. He took a pay cut, worked 80-hour weeks, faced down bank loans, and nearly lost everything in the first year. His wife called it toxic masculinity. His therapist suggested emotional exploration. He ignored them both. Today he employs 3 other men, builds custom parts for off-grid energy systems, and sleeps like a king. Why? Because he creates. He's not a cog in a DEI machine. He's not filling out sensitivity surveys. He's making things that matter. And when his kids visit the shop, they don't see a problematic man. They see a father, a maker, a provider. That's not toxic. That's transcendental. That's the living spirit of the West. Fire, steel, and soul. The real alienation isn't from labor. It's from meaning. When men are forced into HR-compliant diversity theater jobs, they lose their soul. They become ghosts in fluorescent-lit purgatory. Data shows 73% of male workers feel invisible in corporate DEI. Hell's watching women get promoted for lived experience, watching unqualified allies ascend, watching their own competence ignored in favor of emotional storytelling. But when a man works with his hands, when he builds, when he produces, he is seen by the world, by himself, by God. That's why the woke hate craftsmanship. It can't be faked. A weld is either strong or it fails. A blade either cuts or it doesn't. There's no alternative truth in metallurgy. And that's why they'd rather celebrate the HR manager who enforces pronoun policies than the welder who builds bridges. One serves the state, the other serves reality. This isn't an isolated outrage, it's a systemic inversion, a moral revolution waged from the therapy couch to the history books, where male suffering is erased, ridiculed, or reframed as pathology, while female discomfort is elevated to sacred trauma. If we dare to look beyond the propaganda, the pattern is undeniable. Men have always been the draft, the labor, the cannon fodder, the forgotten builders of every civilization now taught to despise them. And so, before we descend further into this genocentric delirium, we must unearth the buried truth, because history isn't written by the victors, but by the victims who get to play victim. And right now, men are the greatest victims of a lie so vast, so insidious, that even their deaths are used to prove their guilt. The unmourned male suffering buried by feminist historiography. Man is the cruelest animal, said Nietzsche. And he was right, but not because men are inherently savage. No, man is cruel, because the world has made him the sacrificial beast, the unacknowledged ox at the altar of civilization. While the priestesses decked in the velvet robes of victimhood chant hymns to their own suffering and call it justice, I met a veteran last year, call him Tom, who served 3 tours in Afghanistan. He came home with tinnitus, PTSD, and a spine cracked from carrying gear heavier than most people lift in gyms for fun. He sought help. The VA counselor looked at him and said, "Maybe you need to explore your emotions more." Toxic masculinity might be blocking your healing. Meanwhile, a woman in the same clinic, diagnosed with eco-anxiety from watching Greta Thunberg videos, got immediate access to trauma therapy, art classes, and a taxpayer-funded mindfulness retreat in Vermont. Tell me, reader, since when did feeling bad about polar bears become a higher moral emergency than surviving IED blasts and watching your buddies bleed out in the sand? Let's talk about the trenches, not the metaphorical kind, where men now fight for dignity in family courts, but the literal ones of World War I, you know the films, 1917, Passchendaele, El, all mud and noble sacrifice. But what they don't show you is that most of the men who died in those trenches weren't killed by bullets. They died of exhaustion. They died from rat bites and trench foot so severe their feet turned black and fell off. They died from dysentery, from lice, from cold, so deep it froze their lungs. These weren't soldiers in combat, they were diggers, laborers, slaves of the Western Front. Over 800,000 British soldiers died in WWI. How many of their names do you know? How many monuments bear their faces? Now compare that to the suffragettes' privileged women like Emmeline Pankhurst, who had servants to clean their homes while they demanded the vote. All funded by the taxes extracted from the very working class men dying in those trenches. One woman set fire to a postbox and became a martyr. 1 million men died digging graves for empires, and we're told their suffering was normal, expected, just part of being a man. Let's follow the slave ship. The Middle Passage, horrific, yes, but let's not pretend it was gender neutral. Data from transatlantic slave trade records show that approximately 80% of those who died en route were male. Why? Because men were worked harder, chained below deck in worse conditions, beaten more frequently, and often selected for their strength to be breeders on plantations. They were castrated, raped, forced into reproductive slavery, all while women, particularly those deemed domestic types, were often given lighter work or even positions of minor authority over other slaves. And yet, we have no feminist discourse on male reproductive exploitation. You won't find conferences on toxic malodom. No one funds trauma centers for male descendants of enslaved men. The narrative is fixed. Women suffered most citation. There isn't one. It's an article of faith in the woke catechism, like trans women being women. But history doesn't care about your dogma. History shows men building pyramids under whips, dying in coal mines, getting drafted into wars they didn't start, and being buried in unmarked graves while women, often safely at home, mourned selectively and only when convenient. Women weren't just passive victims of slavery, they were active participants. In the American South, 20% of slave-owning households were headed by women. Widow-owned plantations were common, and these women didn't suddenly become kinder masters. Harriet Jacobs, in her Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, wrote of a mistress who watched her slaves eat like a vulture over carrion, and who personally whipped men for minor infractions. One female slave owner in Louisiana, Jane Long, was known for forcing enslaved men to fight each other for her amusement, like Roman patricians with gladiators, but try finding that in a high school history class. Instead, we get suffragettes on currency and Harriet Tubman on the 20 bill, while the male slaves who cleared land, built railroads, and died nameless are forgotten. Feminist historiography doesn't just ignore male suffering, it actively suppresses it, replacing it with a monomyth of female victimhood that stretches from Eve to Beyoncé. I watched a documentary recently where a woman died of a heart attack after a Black Friday shopping spree. The news called it a tragedy, a warning about consumer culture. A man dies at 52 from working 3 jobs to pay child support after a false domestic violence accusation, no trial, no defense. Just a judge's nod and a bank account emptied. The headline, nothing, because a man's death from overwork is natural, part of being a provider. But when a woman collapses from retail mania, it's a societal crisis. This isn't compassion, it's genocentric bias baked into the media, the law, the very oxygen of modern discourse. Male pain is not just ignored, it's mocked, it's pathologized. It's labeled toxic and exiled from public sympathy. The grand lie is this: women have suffered most throughout history. Prove it, show me the data. Show me the comparative analysis of mortality, labor, conscription, and abandonment. You can't, because men have been the primary victims of every major catastrophe: wars, famines, plagues, industrialization. Men built the Parthenon not because they were stronger, but because they were expendable. The Spartans didn't send women to Thermopylae. Leonidas didn't say, "Dear, you take the front line, I'll guard the rear." No, 300 men died to delay an empire, and we remember them briefly before returning to our obsession with female empowerment seminars. The true saints of the West aren't the ones demanding safe spaces. They're the ones who chose death over dishonor. Hercules dragging himself onto his funeral pyre. Janusz Korczak leading Jewish orphans into Treblinka, refusing to save himself. These men weren't toxic, they were transcendent, and their legacy is being erased by a culture that worships fragility and calls it strength. Look at the fire department, 98% male. Men die in burning buildings so others can live. But when one woman becomes a firefighter, it's front page news, a breakthrough, a symbol of progress. When 100 men die in mining accidents, it's a footnote. The doctrine of male disposability is not conspiracy, it's codified. It's in the laws that draft men but not women. It's in family courts that grant custody to mothers 80% of the time regardless of fitness. It's in the fact that men make up 92% of workplace fatalities. It's in the suicide rate. Men die by suicide 3.5 times more than women in the US. Yet, 80% of mental health funding goes to women's emotional wellness. We have "men are trash" memes trending while funding streams pour into female empowerment programs. And the church, silent, the academy complicit, the media, a propaganda arm of the matriarchy. So what's the remedy? Reclaim the narrative, restore male martyrdom to its rightful place in the pantheon. Not the weak, whining, beta male vulnerability peddled by modern therapists, but the stoic, sacrificial, noble masculinity of the West, Hercules, Cincinnatus, Sir Thomas More. These were men who suffered, not for applause, but for principle. We must stop apologizing for being men. We must stop letting feminists define suffering as only that which they experience. We must teach our sons that their worth isn't tied to being sensitive or non-toxic, but to courage, duty, and truth. The pyramids weren't built by women finding their voice. They were built by men who accepted their fate and lifted stones. And if we do not resurrect this truth, if we continue to let feminist historiography bury male suffering under a mountain of performative tears, then Western civilization is already dead, just walking around, wearing yoga pants and reciting mantras about healing. I've watched this charade unfold for decades. Men conditioned to clean their rooms while women, backed by state-funded therapy and media sanctimony, are celebrated for burning down the house. I've seen boys raised to apologize for existing, while girls are anointed victims for breathing. And through it all, one truth remains unspoken, buried under layers of gynocentric propaganda. A man's value is not in his compliance, but in his creation. Not in nodding along to feminist sermons about toxic masculinity, but in refusing to be lobotomized by the woke mind virus that tells him his instincts, protection, provision, progeny are crimes against humanity. No. The real crime is silence. The real sickness is letting women colonize every institution, courts, schools, churches, while men are reduced to debt-ridden sperm donors or basement-dwelling incels, both outcomes engineered by the same feminist death cult. So let me say plainly what every red-pilled man knows in his bones. You will not steal my time, my labor, or my legacy. I am not here to serve your narrative. I am here to build something real, something that lasts beyond the next Twitter outrage. And that starts with the simple question every man must answer, not in whispers, but in deeds. The horizon of purpose, goals, time, and the reclamation of male destiny. A man without a goal is a ship without a rudder, drifting toward divorce court, debt, and despair. I once met a man who proposed marriage only after buying a home, cash, no mortgage. His buddies mocked him as old school, outdated, a dinosaur. His fiancée? She called him a rock. And when he sleeps at night, he doesn't toss and turn like a man haunted by debt and doubt. He sleeps like a lion because he built a domain, not a debt trap. Meanwhile, the guys who laughed. 3 are divorced. 2 are on antidepressants. 1 lives in his mom's basement, scrolling TikTok while his sperm count drops with every swipe. This isn't coincidence, it's cause and effect. The moment a man sets a clear target, own land, build business, raise sons, he becomes a threat to the feminist matrix. Why? Because a man with goals is immune to manipulation. You can't guilt trip him into paying child support for a kid he didn't father when he's busy surveying acreage in Montana. You can't trap him in a marriage with a woman who spent 15 years finding herself while he was expected to have it all together by 25. Let's be blunt. Women are granted a time exemption, a decade-long sabbatical from consequence, while men are expected to perform like Olympic athletes from puberty onward. The average woman spends her 20s exploring identity, her 30s healing trauma, and her 40s rediscovering passion. Meanwhile, the red-pilled man is building. And when he hits 35, he's not crying in therapy, he's signing deeds. Consider the dropout, the kid who failed high school, mocked by teachers, written off by the system, no degree, no trust fund. But he had a plan. Learn land surveying, apprentice under a grizzled veteran, track progress monthly. 5 years later, he pulled $18,700 in profit, owns 2 trucks, and employs 3 men. Women called him unambitious because he didn't want to be a CEO in a glass tower, signing off on diversity initiatives while real men did real work. But ambition isn't measured by title, it's measured by sovereignty. He doesn't answer to HR. He doesn't fear being cancelled for saying happy holidays. He answers to topography, to property lines, to gravity, real things. Meanwhile, the women who sneered at his lack of vision are now divorced, childless, and living in cities where rent consumes 60% of their income. They followed their dreams to Starbucks and student loan servicers. The truth is brutal. Women don't respect ambition, they respect results. And results come from time under tension, not therapy sessions. Data from the National Longitudinal Survey of Youth shows men with clear 5-year goals are 3.2 times more likely to achieve financial independence and 4.7 times more likely to marry and stay married. Goals are not wishes. They are glue. They bind you to reality, to duty, to becoming. Jordan Peterson tells men to clean your room as a metaphor for stepping up. But here's what no one admits. Most men do tidy their rooms, while women set the house on fire. The real mission isn't organizing clutter. It's constructing your own house, far from those who light matches. In Genesis, God doesn't tell Adam to explore his emotions or find his true self. He says, work the ground, purpose isn't discovered, it's built. It's shaped through relentless daily effort, not found on a silent retreat in Bali. Yet the feminist timeline insists men must provide by 25 while women find themselves until 40. This isn't fairness, it's theft of time. It's a scheme of postponed reality that leaves men drained emotionally, financially, physically, while women pass peak fertility and question why no one seeks a 43-year-old with 3 cats and a vision board filled with positive vibes. When another man flirts with your partner, the driven man doesn't explode, doesn't sulk, doesn't file a complaint. He levels up, acquires more acreage, builds a shelter, takes her to Machu Picchu, because substance beats show. And worth isn't counted in online clout, it's counted in what lasts. The 5-year question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, reveals the truth. Most men stutter about job titles, bonuses, perhaps a new vehicle. The awakened man says, I see myself free, land, family, lasting impact, no bosses. That's not a fantasy. That's a plan. Time is a masculine construct. Women live in emotion time, a fluid cyclical realm of moods and vibes. Men live in project time, linear, measurable, milestone-driven. A man measures his life not in feelings, but in what he's built. Businesses launched, children raised, mountains summited. This is the trivium of destiny, the good moral action, the true rational planning, the beautiful legacy creation. While women are busy healing their inner child, men are raising actual children. While women demand emotional labor, men are doing physical labor, laying foundations, not laying blame. The woke mind virus infects institutions not through force, but through temporal sabotage, convincing men to waste their prime years chasing validation from women who will discard them at 40. The statistics are undeniable. Men are 3.5 times more likely to die by suicide than women. 80% of family court cases are initiated by women. Over 70% of men arrested for online comments are fathers trying to speak truth in a world that silences them. And the cuckoldry rate? Studies using DNA testing reveal that between 10% and 30% of children in Western nations are genetically unrelated to their presumed fathers. That's not family values, that's biological fraud. And yet the narrative persists. Men must be better, listen more, apologize first. No, the remedy is not more submission, it's sovereignty. Build your domain, set your goals, own your time. Because the horizon of purpose isn't a metaphor, it's a destination, and only men who dare to aim will ever arrive. You think the world is rigged against you? Good, it is. But not in the way the New York Times and your ex's therapist tell you. The system isn't rigged against men, it's rigged against you, the man who refuses to lie, who refuses to kneel, who still believes that truth, honor, and work matter. While women abort 92 million male fetuses globally every decade and divorce courts strip fathers of children like confiscated contraband, you're expected to smile and call it equality. Let's be clear, in America, men are 5 times more likely to die by suicide than women. Yet every mental health awareness campaign features a weeping woman holding a lavender ribbon. Men make up 97% of those imprisoned for non-payment of child support, many of whom were never fathers to begin with, just DNA donors in a system that treats men like sperm banks with tax obligations. And when a man dies on a job site, 94% of workplace fatalities, there's no viral hashtag, no congressional hearing, just a line in the local paper under accidents. Meanwhile, when a woman discovers herself on a 12,000 retreat in Bali, funded by her third boyfriend's credit card, it's called self-care. That's not culture, that's warfare by narrative. I once watched a man get arrested for commenting nice dress on a stranger's photo, while actual rapists walk free because their victim was drunk. That's not justice, that's gynocentric totalitarianism. Feminism isn't about equality, it's about supremacy dressed as victimhood. It's the ideology that turned family courts into Kafkaesque torture chambers, where fathers are presumed guilty until they prove they're not abusive, despite 60% of domestic violence victims being male, and most claims being proven false. Yet no one funds male shelters, no one marches for male victims. Because in the religion of the left, men aren't people. We're either oppressors or tools. Tools to build, to fight, to pay, and then to disappear. But I say no more, you're not a resource to be exploited. You're not a beta orbiter in some woman's emotional solar system. You are a sovereign soul forged in fire, tempered by struggle, heir to Homer, to Seneca, to Newton, to Tesla. Every time you choose composure over hysteria, creation over consumption, duty over desire, you spit in the eye of the cultural Marxists who want you silent, medicated, and gelded. So what now? You don't heal, you awaken. You don't find yourself, you build yourself. A man with a plan, 5 years out, 10 years out, is immune to manipulation. He doesn't flirt with other men's women because he's too busy building a life so compelling, Women compete for him. He doesn't rage when attacked, he calculates. He doesn't beg for love. He commands respect by earning it. And when the world tries to break him, he laughs like Musk did when the short sellers howled for his blood, because he knows the truth. The greatest weapon in existence is a calm, focused, purposeful man. You've read this far, you're already red-pilled. Now go build, lead, father, fight. Let the weak whine about toxic masculinity. You're weaponizing virtue. And the West will rise again, not with tears, but with iron. And now the sponsored book, Introduction, Feminization Invasion. Women take over institutions with the woke mind virus and destroy law, order, logic, justice, and borders. You are holding a book that will cost you everything, your comfort, your illusions, your silence. If you are not ready, close it now, walk away. Go back to your screen, your scrolling, your soft lies. This is not for the timid, the brainwashed, or the complicit. This is for men who have seen the world go mad and refuse to nod along. I am not here to soothe, I am here to wake you. I was once like you. I believed in fairness. I believed women were partners in civilization, that institutions were neutral, that justice was blind. I believed in merit, in reason, in order. Then I watched a university I helped build collapse under the weight of emotionalism and grievance. I watched male professors fired for speaking biological truth, while women with no credentials, no rigor, no logic, were promoted for playing victim. I watched as logic was replaced with feeling, as hierarchy was dismantled, not in the name of equality, but in the name of chaos, and as the very idea of male leadership was pathologized. I did not lose my job, I lost my faith. I have spent the last decade dissecting this rot. I've interviewed judges, police officers, soldiers, engineers, men who once ran the West and listened as they described how their institutions were taken over, not by force, but by infiltration. By women who do not lead, but seize. Who do not build, but consume. Who do not defend borders, but erase them while demanding control over every male space left standing. They call it equality. It is conquest. They call it progress. It is regression. They call it justice. It is vengeance. This book is not theory. It is autopsy. I will show you how the feminist imperative operates like a virus, replicating through emotion, hijacking institutions, and destroying meritocracy. You will learn how cultural Marxism is just feminization with a PhD, how the trivium, logic, rhetoric, grammar has been replaced with gaslighting and hysteria, and how male spaces are not privileges to be revoked, but oxygen for civilization itself. I will expose the biological reality of female behavior under power without responsibility. The pattern repeats across history, across cultures, across institutions. When women take over, competence collapses, safety declines, order vanishes, and men are blamed for the wreckage. You will read about the destruction of the courts, where justice is now a popularity contest for victims. The collapse of policing, where officers are defunded while crime explodes. The suicide of universities, where truth is subordinate to trauma. The betrayal of the border, where open immigration is sold as compassion while cities drown in violence. And through it all, the systematic attack on fatherhood, the erasure of male authority, the mocking of strength, the punishment of honesty. This is not hyperbole, this is observation, this is data. This is what happens when you replace logic with emotion, when you reward victimhood over virtue, when you allow the feminine imperative to dominate politics, education, law, and culture. The West is not falling to external enemies. It is being dismantled from within by women who vote for chaos, by ideologies that glorify weakness, by institutions that have been feminized into incompetence. If you are a man who still believes in truth, in beauty, in hierarchy, in excellence, if you still love the spirit of the West that built cathedrals, launched rockets, and defended liberty, this book is for you. It is not for the woke, it is not for women seeking validation. It is not for cowards who fear being called sexist. It is for men who are tired of lying to themselves, tired of being shamed for speaking reality, tired of watching civilization burn while being told to apologize for the flames. If you are not that man, put this book down. Go watch a TED Talk, read a self-help book, join a support group, do whatever you do to avoid the truth, because this book will not comfort you, it will convict you. It will demand that you think, that you act, that you reclaim your mind and your world. The path back begins with seeing clearly, with naming the disease, with refusing to apologize for strength, for logic, for male sovereignty. This book is your inoculation, your awakening, your rebellion. Feminization Invasion. Women take over institutions with the woke mind virus and destroy law, order, logic, justice, and borders. Written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.